Hello there, and in today's video, we are still talking about a pretty serious topic. And we're going to be discussing, is teen mental health truly in a state of crisis? A lot of statistics are saying yes, but we'll talk about that in this video. So if we're going to be talking about the crisis and whether this is a crisis and all that, we want to look at how does this generation compare to past generations. We want to be also having a conversation about some of the modern technology, things like social media and screen time and all of those things, how that might be playing in, the roles of parents and schools and either helping to fix the problem, or could it even be that they are part of the problem? How to help students kind of address the issue themselves, and on a bigger, more cultural kind of basis, what can we do to help stem the tide and figure out whether it truly is a crisis or not. All of that we'll be talking about in this video. There is some current research coming out that really, probably the late 90s, early 2000s, childhood play really began to change. And when that began to change, their ability to deal with crises, the ability to be flexible in their behavior, the ability to problem solve, the ability to deal with stress, anxiety began to change. As they lost that childhood free play where they're figuring things out with their friends from a young age, given some freedoms, given the opportunity to walk just even a block or two away to a friend's house. When those things began to change, the development of the child began to change. And from indications are, it isn't good. They stop learning that ability to kind of figure things out amongst themselves and the peers, how to take risks and learn, all right, maybe I went a little too far with this risk. They learn by the bumps and bruises, and yes, sometimes even maybe a broken bone. All of those things have really contributed to the lack of the ability for this generation, for really probably the last two generations, to cope under stress. And the response from adults has been to try to remove all stress from their life. And that is a very dangerous thing to try to do. So beginning in about 2010 or so, when smartphones really kind of began to dominate our world, and social media we can now bring it everywhere with us, another phase or stage began to happen, further kind of removing students from, not only removing them from that in-person socialization skill set that also helps them learn how to manage stress and anxiety and peer relations. But they began to now see a lot more negativity, and social comparisons became kind of predominant because it was everywhere with them. We add to that literally game makers and app makers try to build in addictive type of stimuli within their app to keep you engaged. The whole scrolling process and the feedback and all of these things that are done to keep you engaged, ultimately so they can put ads up in there or have you check out another one of their apps or whatever it may be. All of that has further removed students from the real world. This whole virtual reality idea is a dangerous trend and precedent that has been shown with more and more data. John Haidt would be one I would highly recommend in his book, Anxiety Generation. A lot of his other research that shows this modern technology is definitely influencing teens' ability to deal with stress, anxiety, depression, other mental health issues. Glow Kids is another book that talks about it. Coddling of American Mind is yet another one. All of those paint the same picture. Modern technology is having a detrimental effect on teens' mental health. So schools and families all right? Kids are in schools for 6.5, 7 hours a day, depending on where you're located, time with family. Predominant opportunities are there to help stem the tide or contribute to it. So what's happening in these schools? More and more opportunities to have phones at all times, laptops constantly, to be able to use this technology and disconnect. Schools having rules, particularly at elementary school, where there's so many rules, so many kind of guidelines to be able to play at all. This idea of free play has been nixed from playgrounds all across America. Not just America, even Western Europe as well. Playgrounds themselves have gone through redesigns. Parents insisting, I'll tell you, I had a student lived literally from her house to the school was line of sight. Maybe 0.2 of a mile. Sidewalks on the street even. Yes, the road was busy, particularly school time, but there were even sidewalks there. This student was picked up in no physical handicaps, none. But the student was picked up by a bus and dropped off by a bus. Mom was too worried about having this child walk 0.2 of a mile up on a main road with sidewalks to get to school. Part of the problem, part of the solution. I'll let you guys be the judge of that. But schools and parents can do a lot more for helping the child learn to develop a mindset that will be able to help them thrive in any sort of storm that they encounter in life. As I've repeated in many different videos, this whole idea of mindset, again, that is what you want to help your child begin to train. Starts fairly young, but by the time they reach in middle school, there's been enough history going on in the past that we really need to start paying attention to, cleaning that up. And they're also at an age and maturity level where they can truly take the lessons from those and file those away. Many times when they're younger, those lessons are harder for them to learn and understand, which is why they've held on to the emotions or the beliefs or what have you in the first place. So now as they're entering middle school and high school, they're definitely mature enough and old enough, of course, in generalization there, but to understand those lessons, to learn from them. So there's a whole process for getting them to be able to do that and then let go of the emotion, let go of the belief. You don't need to hold on to these beliefs or these labels that don't support you or help you reach your goals and objectives. Then those habits that are so crucial, things like mindfulness practices and prayer or meditation, any of those spiritual kind of practices, breath work, exercise. And it doesn't, when I say exercise, I don't just mean the working out exercise, although that is vitally important too, but just some simple basic body movements, even during the course of the day when you're feeling stressed, to change your posture, to help kind of get that blood flowing a little differently. Those things all have incredible value. Listening to good, positive, upbeat music, positive affirmations. These are all things that they can learn to do habitually, ritualize them to help them manage their emotions, manage their state, manage their stress. So culturally or societally, the first step to making change is awareness. I think we are becoming more aware. With awareness, we need to recognize kind of what some of the core issues are, core problems. A lot of the negativity, negative thinking, right? The even diet and lack of exercise, there's no habits, overprotectiveness, which we already talked about. Recognizing and maybe beginning to look at parameters around phone use and social media use and laptops and internet searching and all some of these modern technologies, beginning to look at, all right, how young should they be to be exposed to some of that, particularly freely? These sort of guidelines are things that we need to debate and discuss and have conversations about. But ultimately, as societally, we really want to get a much better handle on how to help them with their mindset so that they can understand and recognize there's going to be people who aren't nice. There's going to be people who say mean things. There's going to be times where, you have a lot on your plate and you need to figure out how to kind of deal with it without letting the stress get to you. So understanding that there are habits and behaviors that you can do to kind of declutter your mind, declutter your space, declutter your life to help get control of that stress, to take control of your mindset. When they start getting a regular message of that from an early age on through, that is one huge way of beginning to stem this crisis. Well, once again, we've ended yet another video, and as always, I encourage you to subscribe to my channel and not only look at some of the other videos, but I would also encourage you to register for a free webinar that I offer, and the link to that would be in the description. But the webinar, Emotional Hygiene, will kind of talk about some of these issues about mental health and how to bring up kids so that they have that clear understanding of how to take care of their emotional well-being.